Hey Suburban Psychics! Today I'm coming to you from sunny, slightly chilly autumn Sydney. I'm here in the rocks down at Circular Quay in Sydney, and I'm always saying that answers come to you whenever you ask a question, in any shape, in any form. And today I want to just show you how to put that to the test out in the wild. I'm going to start running meetup groups where we can go and play with this ourselves. So today, here I am in the rocks. I'm going to give you a quick look around. I'm above the rocks markets, opposite this beautiful building here, and you can get a peep of the opera house peeping through there. And there's sunshine and trees, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to use the markets to answer a question today. So, I'll get back to you shortly. Bye. Hey Suburban Psychics. Welcome back, part 2. I kind of got waylaid yesterday. I was in the rocks for a meeting with Sydney Writers Festival because I support the festival each year by running the Writers Green Room. And I went in for a meeting, and it was they're based near the rocks in Sydney, so it's so easy to get waylaid and distracted. And I ended up starting out in the rocks and using my intention was to use the rocks markets as an oracle, and what happened for me was that it was simply my surroundings that jumped out at me and started to act as an oracle. So very much the case of when I say ask a question and it's answered by any and all means possible, immediately things started triggering me intuitively. There were answers. So the question was from me. It was one of my own questions. I'd been away in Mexico and I'd had a fantastic week away with amazing people, and I realized I'd had a pretty clean diet while I was away. I hadn't eaten any junk food, I hadn't had coffee, hadn't really touched bread, and I came back and I had a bit of a flare-up of food intolerances, sort of semi-allergic reactions to food. And I wondered what was behind that. Now, I don't look for what's behind every tiny little thing that happens to me. Sometimes I think a cold is just a cold. I fell down a cenote, some stairs, when I was in Mexico. I didn't feel the need to examine what that meant or why it happened. Sometimes accidents just happen. But the food intolerances, I wanted to just see what kind of message might be in there for me, because it was concerning me. Admittedly, I'd eaten some crap. I'd come back and had cappuccinos and regular sourdough bread, and sourdough is pretty healthy, but still it's a processed product. And I follow a reasonably paleo style diet. I try to eat a lot of whole foods, but of course I eat a lot of garbage as well. I couldn't resist having some TimTams now that I'm back in the country, because they're such an Australian classic. And so some little sneaky non-food items essentially had come back into my diet, and I was having a bit of a flare-up, a bit of a reaction in my throat, a rough throat. So that was a thought in my mind as I went down to the rocks yesterday. And the three things that jumped out to me were, firstly, my eye was magnetically drawn, and I'll show you the photo in a second, of this beautiful tree kind of forcing its way through the brickwork and some stairs. So please have a look at that photo now. So what that meant for me intuitively as an oracle, I guess in the flare-up of my food intolerance, I was kind of worried about my health and my vitality. And what that spoke to me about was life constantly seeks life. It never stops trying to grow and multiply and move forward. And I think the same is true in our bodies. There is the absolute urge and impulse within our bodies to constantly renew. Nothing in us is original from birth. We're constantly making over. Our bodies are a self-healing mechanism and a self-duplicating, replicating mechanism. So that was an amazing affirmation and reassurance that there is an absolute biological, physical urge within me to grow, to constantly grow, and that in many ways our health can't be halted because of that beautiful natural urge. The next thing I was drawn to intuitively was an area where I often go to sit, and it's a beautiful, quiet little area for a city of millions of people. I'm always amazed, excuse me, at how often I can go to this particular little hidden bench and just find absolute peace and tranquility. And it's near some original ruins of not like the stuff we saw in Mexico, but some original building foundations from a couple of hundred years ago, because we're such a young country, that have been excavated and left there. And I'll show you that picture now. And some modern artwork has been done of furniture style items, a clock, a mirror, a dresser, some tables and chairs done in iron and allowed to rust, so that these rooms are furnished. And what that spoke to me about was like the foundations are still there, even though all of this other building had gone on top, and it cast my mind back to Mexico as well, to the Mayan civilization who built on top of previous buildings, previous pyramids, previous ancestors. That foundation is always there. You may not excavate it, but it's there. So I found that reassuring, that just dig a bit below the surface in your own body and this wonderfully strong foundation is there. And the last visual that I was drawn to was that great little alleyway. There's a terrific range of buildings in a row, and there are two of these alleyways. From the front and the back, they have doors on them. So it's not until somebody opens the doors up that you realize there are a little walkway through each building. And funny enough, in Mexico, in Ekbalam, for example, in the pyramids and the huge big buildings, there were these little sneaky alleyways running through underneath. And that made me think about, and that's why I knew it was an oracle, because I got this buzz in my mind that there are always pathways back to health. We know the pathways to take: whole foods, clean water, avoiding preservatives, avoiding processed foods. There are always these pathways, and sometimes those doors are shut and we don't think about or see the pathways, and then someone opens a door and we're reminded and triggered, and we're like, oh yeah, I should be going through that way to get to where I want to go, and to get to where I want to go quicker, because otherwise you're going to go all the way around. It's going to take forever. And the fact is, when it comes to your health, there are some incredibly quick pathways back to good health, and there's an enormous amount of research and information out on the internet now that educates us on what those quick pathways are, and it very much is whole and clean foods. So I felt like I was getting a bit of a nudge to kind of lay off the TimTams, that they're just simply not good for me. And I think we live in a society where so much processed food has been created because it suited companies to mass produce things and make a lot of money and convince us to have them. And I don't want to get on a soapbox here about that sort of thing, but I think we are all sensible enough, intelligent enough, educated enough to know that there's a whole bunch of non-food that we've been convinced to put in our bodies. And especially if you're my generation, where you kind of sit between last century, when stuff was just dished out to you and told it was good for you and you believed it, versus now we're incredibly switched on, plugged in, informed, and we know that that was just a dreadful smokescreen to allow some companies to make money on new products completely lacking in nutrition. So I think those quick pathways back, we do know what they are, and it's just remembering to take them. And I think in some ways I've taken my body for granted, that because it could handle some of the rubbish that I've put in it over the years, that it should continue to handle the rubbish. And what I'm finding for myself now is my body is just going, no, stop that. I don't like it. I can't cope with it. It's making my throat flare up and my stomach flare up and whatever. I felt like I got a really clear sign from my body, but also then having it backed up by the beautiful oracles that came to me yesterday, supporting me and reminding me that my body's natural urge is good health. It's vibrant, good health, wellness, and vitality. That the foundation of that does still lie within me, and that there are very quick pathways back to health, so I don't have to take the long way around, the long detour around, the long way around mentally, to know that, boom, there's the way to cut straight through underneath all the nasty stuff. So I think if you're drawn to this video, the title of the video, that there's a message in here for you about your own health and about your own quick path back to health and wellness and vitality. And the message is very much, you can do it. Your body's constantly seeking to heal itself, to be well and to grow. So your body's always working with you to that end, and that the foundation absolutely is there for you. So hope you've enjoyed the message today. I've certainly gotten something out of it, and it's focused and it's actionable, and I am going to take more focused action on this. I might not throw out the last 2 Tim Tams. Who would throw out chocolate biscuits? I'm probably going to eat them, but I'm not going to buy that next packet. So yeah, that's it from me, and I hope there's been something in it today for you. Remember to ask great questions and to look for answers that are focused and actionable to carry yourself forward. Okay, so my little suburban psychics, what's your question?